welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back, and today we're having a break from the norm. Normally we would be watching a movie and reviewing a movie. We're going to do that, but it will be next week. This week, we're giving our top 5 movies of 2020, the year that almost wasn't.
Almost wasn't, yeah. The year that killed cinema.
The year that might well have killed cinema.
Yeah.
Although I will blame Warner for that. But
yeah.
but the year didn't help. Between the year and Warner, it may have killed cinema. Maybe 2021 might be the last year of big blockbusters because because they're already in production. So they're ready to release. After
that might not necessarily be a bad thing. I think
I agree.
That
Smaller
could
movies
be a very good thing.
And in fact, of this year, mainly because of my own mistake, it's been a very busy day and I haven't really had time to prepare very much. And I was just thinking, I know my top 5 movies, and then I looked them up just now for this, and I realised 2 of those were from 2019, so those have been dropped, and I've had to, I think a lot of it's because these movies came out the year before. And because I've had so much time this year, especially for that 5-month period where I didn't see my fiance, I just watched a load of movies, and a lot of those movies I was like, oh, this is going to be in my top of this year. Doctor Sleep and 1917.
Yeah, of course, that was in.
These are movies from previous year.
1917 is this year. No, 1917 counts as this year.
Does it?
Yes.
Fine. Then I'm going to drop something from this list.
Yeah, because that's, spoilers. That's on my list.
All right.
Even though it says it's 2019, I believe it came out at the beginning of the year here.
Okay, so in that case, 2019. No. Let's go with that. 1917 makes my list then.
10th of January, it was released over here. Because that's when I saw it. It's at the beginning of last year.
Right. Okay. Well, in that case, I will put that in the list, and I will have to drop The Platform. Sorry, The Platform. It was a good movie, but it's gone now.
Yeah.
So cool. Okay, that's fine.
The sad thing is, three of the movies that are in my list are from that January period.
Oh, really?
They're in that they were I would say
that's probably because you were busy watching good movies in the cinema in January. I realised whilst looking through films for this list that I think the last maybe if things go the way they're going, it might be possible that the last film I ever saw in the cinema was The Turning, which would be a tragedy.
Oh man, that's not good, is it?
Yeah, I know. So I need to least I'll have to go to the Watershed or something to make up for it. Just be like, I've been to the cinema. It's fine.
Yeah. See anything even remotely good.
It wasn't like terrible, but it certainly wasn't very good. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So I have an order roughly. Do you want us to go first? What's your number 5?
Sure. My number 5 is Possessor.
Okay, a film I haven't seen yet, but I heard your review. So tell me about Possessor. It sounded great. So
the Brandon Cronenberg directed, Andrea Riseborough, Christopher Abbott, Jennifer Jason Leigh, all that, and it's the story of the set in a sort of an alternate future where they've got this technology that basically means these chips that means you can inhabit other people's bodies, and Andrea Riseborough is a assassin who is. Basically, she goes into people's minds. She sort of stays in there for a bit, works her way through, and then basically takes out her target. And it's to do with identity and how much do you lose yourself in if you're constantly going on other people's brains, and they are still in there, so you are getting. Like feedback, as it were, from them, and there's a great scene at the beginning where Andrea Riseborough's just finished a mission, and Jennifer Jason Leigh as her boss is, she's she's got this box of objects, and she's testing her sort of like to see whether she remembers who she is. So she's pulling out objects, and she's saying, this is this object, and my grandfather gave me this, and all that sort of stuff. And it's, all these sort of tests, and it's, to do with your association with those objects, and and it's really, really well done. And obviously you get a callback to that later where things are slightly different, but it's really, really brilliantly well done. I mean, and it's as I said when I reviewed it, Cronenberg hasn't fallen far from the tree, as it were.
Yeah, which is wonderful to hear. It's good that runs in the family. Makes me happy.
Yeah, it's and he's like his father. Is a lot of almost everything is practical. There are no CG effects or anything like that. There's some serious gore in this as well. It's a very gory, body horror movie. It's
which again, I mean, you would expect from Cronenberg. So it's good.
You
right?
would, yeah, exactly. It's
or at least it's what I come to expect. I know Cronenberg's done some other stuff as well, but it's certainly when I think Cronenberg, I think Videodrome, so
yeah, exactly. I think you do, and I think even though these days he's a lot more cerebrally sort of
and those movies are fantastic
less screwy.
Too. Yeah,
I love his newer stuff,
yeah.
like what was it? Not Map? Was it Maps of the Stars? Was that one of it? That was a good. I really loved that one and stuff like that. But when like you said, when somebody says Cronenberg, there's a reason why in like Rick and Morty when they do that there's an episode where they Cronenberg the world. When you say Cronenberg, people know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
And although this is quite as gross and visceral as Videodrome or anything like that, it definitely has his sort of his father's influence. You can see that he's taken heed of what his father's previously done, and it's a great movie. It does really sort of like make you think about identity and how this will affect people, and obviously it's a this is corporate control and moving things around underneath people's noses to sort of like make things happen the way these companies want them to. And it's the central performances of Riseborough and Abbott, who Abbott is basically channeling Riseborough for the movie. So you're seeing him wandering around as this other character, and
she got top billing, right? Even though she's barely in the movie.
Well, she is in quite a lot, but
it's mostly him playing her playing someone else, though, isn't it? Really,
exactly.
Which is really funny.
You do get, so you do get that, but it's and Riseborough again, who is we the year before we had, I think Mandy was like one of our top movies, if not the top movie.
It was my top movie, I think, of last year.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it was mine as well. She was only in that movie for what, 20 minutes total, if possible, if that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
such a stunning presence in it for a very short period of that movie.
Well, you certainly don't bloody forget the way she goes out of that movie. That's for sure.
God, no, absolutely not. And it's this is it's a similar thing. It's even though she's not as prominent as Abbott may be. When she is there, she's that presence that she gives you that. She's fantastic, and I really love this movie. It's a great movie, and I recommend it to anybody who likes a good sort of almost body horror sort of sci-fi movie. Yeah, like it's in the sort of almost a sort of style of Videodrome, not quite as I would say is sort of visceral as that, but it's almost up there with that. It's good. I really like it, and I'm looking forward to for his only for Brandon Cronenberg's second movie. I'm really looking forward to what he does next.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds great, and it's certainly on my list of movies to watch. It's a Netflix movie, isn't it, or is it Amazon?
No, it was I paid
just
for
a movie.
It's
just a movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, fair enough. Yeah,
I imagine one of them will pick it up eventually.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's on my list, and it looks great. So I'm just going to go with something. Well, it's mainly in my top 5 because I really wanted to give it a shout out for being the movie that I was expecting the least from this year, but ended up enjoying way more than I expected, and actually found it to be a far more engaging and enjoyable, kind of schlocky, but very enjoyable movie. Way more than I expected. Underwater.
Nothing wrong with that.
Underwater.
Oh, cool. See, now I did consider that. It was on my list. It would probably be in my top 10.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I thought this movie, directed by William Eubank, and starring Kirsten Stewart, and even has a bearable T.J. Miller in it. Because T.J. Miller, you know, but he plays. They put T.J. Miller in the perfect T.J. Millery role in the movie, and it worked quite well. This movie really surprised me because the trailer, I thought, it's like Alien underwater. It looks a bit schlocky, and it is quite schlocky, you know, in places. But my God, this movie was compelling. Kristen Stewart is great in this movie. It's a great performance by Kristen Stewart. I did not expect the kind of escalation that happens in the movie, and the ending was superb. So
I mean, you can't beat it anything like that, can you? I mean, we probably spoiled it previously, so
I think we probably did.
It's got Cthulhu in it.
Basically, it's basically a sneak Cthulhu movie. It's like they never said anything about it, and then at the end, I think in everything but name, it's Cthulhu.
You when you reviewed this movie, you didn't give that away.
You hadn't seen it, and I wanted you to see it.
Exactly. So I when I watched it, I think we spoiled it after that. But
we did. Yeah.
I mean, what a great ending. And
I think
I presume they're going to do a sequel.
I hope so. I think
I hope it did. I hope it did well enough to get a sequel, because I really enjoyed it.
It's a really fun movie, and I think we've probably ruined it for people now, because I don't think I'd have enjoyed it as much if I'd known the ending. But not knowing the ending, I was like, oh my God, this movie's great. What a great way to end a movie. I thoroughly enjoyed this. And I think, 2020 being what it was just nice to have something really easy to watch and really fun. A real sort of thrill ride, really, from beginning to end. It's got elements of Alien. It's got, obviously, Cthulhu. It's heavy in the Cthulhu elements. And it's almost got that kind of Pitch Black feel about it. In a number of ways. But in the best ways, because obviously Pitch Black's the good one. Underwater. I highly recommend it. I had a real good time.
What I like about the thing is, you've got I think all the characters were sort of like enjoyable enough. Yeah. They were just this side. They were just the right side of not annoying.
And when they were about to get annoying, they tended to die. So
exactly, just when and there was no sort of sentimentality in then getting rid of them either. It was just like, gone. No, that's it. Brilliant. And I did like the whole setup of the Vincent Cassel's character who's keeps sort of dropping hints that he's probably not quite all there. There's something sort of he keeps mentioning things that, like, his daughter and stuff, and it's like, well, his daughter died like ages ago. Why is he talking about his daughter and stuff? And it's there's I really like what they did with him. And when you discover that they'd already opened this up, they'd already found this thing, and it's just got worse. I think it was really good. I really enjoyed it as well. I mean, again, it's not the greatest movie ever.
No, absolutely not. And in a different year. Enjoyment. In a different year, this probably wouldn't have even got a look in. But it was just perfect viewing for this year, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. And honestly, it was far better than I was ever expecting it to be.
Yeah,
it was on sale. I think I got it for like £2 to rent on Amazon, because Amazon do that, like, you can rent this for £2 now. And I thought, right, sold. Let's give it a go. And I really, really enjoyed it. So Underwater.
Okay.
What's your number 4?
So my number 4 is The Invisible Man.
Oh my god, that's probably my number 3. So
Okay.
So let's talk about The Invisible Man. I talked about it last week, but what a movie!
We talked about it last week. But
what a movie!
Yeah. Brilliant movie.
Lee Whannell directed, and starring Elizabeth Moss in like you said last week, Elizabeth Moss never given a bad performance in any movie that I'm aware of, but in this movie, this might be for me her defining performance. She was incredible in this film. So much of this film, two things. The direction is stunning, and we'll get into that, I'm sure. But Elizabeth Moss's performance, if it wasn't for her performance, this movie wouldn't work as well. I mean, her performance is pivotal to this movie, and I cannot overstate how good she was.
With a lesser actress, I'm sure it would have been cheesy at times.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
It just wouldn't have been had the heft that it did. I think she was the perfect person to hold, completely holds this whole movie up brilliantly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, Oliver Jackson Cohen, who is playing Griffin, is even though again you don't see him very much. You literally don't see him,
No.
but when you do, he is horrific. He is an absolute bastard.
Yeah, I would say there's not a bad role in this entire film. There's never a character or performance where you're like, oh, that was a bit ropey. It just doesn't happen. This film is as far as I'm concerned, taking a beloved classic horror movie like The Invisible Man, and modernizing it. As I said to you last week, this movie on paper sounds awful. We're taking The Invisible Man, but now it's going to be like a high-tech super suit where the guy, and you're like, no, this is terrible. This sounds awful.
It just sounds, when you put it that way, it sounds cheesy
on paper. It just sounds terrible. It sounds like it would be like The Mummy from 2017, where it's like, this is just terrible. What are you doing? But this movie, the execution and the writing and everything is superb. Yeah. This movie had, for me, the biggest reaction I've had of any movie this year. Honestly, like this movie, the dining scene in this movie, I actually said "holy shit" out loud watching that scene.
Now, I'm missing. I'm not sure which. So when you said the dining scene, do you mean the one with her sister, or the one with him?
One with his sister.
In the
sister.
That scene is
because for some reason,
amazing.
Again, this movie does this. It keeps the tension the whole way through, but it will make you think things are happening when they're not. And then things will happen when you don't think they're going to happen. And this was a moment completely caught off guard. I did not expect, for some reason, I did not expect it to happen. I guess because it's a public place, there's a big,
that's
lot of things going on.
I think that's the greatest sort of rug pull he does on that one is
my God.
He spent all this time, showing you these scenes, like I said, where you get her sat in a room where she's slightly off center.
The camera will
got
linger.
All this negative space.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking
something's going on.
He must be there. He's there. And then you think they're in a restaurant. They're in a crowded place. There are people everywhere. There's no way he's going to be here. And he does that. And that is absolutely
it's
amazing.
Like mid-sentence as well. It just really is like, whoa. It was amazing.
You go, what just happened? Did they actually do that? And you're like, shit, they did just do that.
That was the other thing as well, because I said "holy shit" out loud when that scene happened. Then I laughed, and then I like in a good way. I laughed in a good way, not in a bad way. I laughed in a like I'm surprised that they did that. And then my immediate thought with like movies,
Glee, I believe is
and then my immediate thought with a lot of movies being as bad as they are was oh god, this is a dream sequence, and she's going to wake up now. But she didn't, and it was real, and it was amazing. I don't want to harp on too long about that one scene, but it really did surprise me.
It was a great scene.
But this movie, honestly, one of the best directed films of the year, one of the best performances of the year. The whole cast, superb. I really, nitpicks are all I've got with this movie. Yeah. Honestly, it's fantastic.
As we both said, the end... probably could have done with a bit of work.
Yeah.
to make it slightly more believable.
It was a bit, but yeah.
Having said that, it's it's fine. It's what they wanted to do,
fine.
and it works kind of perfectly with the way it is.
I thought after my review last week, I was trying to think while we were talking about it of a movie that's similar in intention, or a scene that's similar in intention. And as soon as I finished the call, I remembered one, The Killer by John Woo. John Woo's The Killer.
Okay, yeah.
End of that movie, horse shit.
Where they're crawling towards each other.
When he gets his eyes shot out.
Yeah.
You're like, fucking bollocks. That makes no way. But, my God, does it work in the context of the movie? In that scene, the poetic justice of it all, it's wonderful. And that scene, when you look at it on its own, you're like, that's ridiculous. But when you've watched the whole movie, you've been on the whole journey, you get to that point, you're like, oh, that's so poetic, it's wonderful. And that's the same here. It's like, it doesn't really work when you think about it. Or it could have worked if they changed it slightly, or just gave it a bit more time to breathe.
It doesn't. It doesn't break the movie, which I think is the main.
It's such a good ending. It's such a good ending.
Again, maybe if it was with lesser actors, you just would have gone, oh, fuck off.
100%.
You'd have just gone, fuck off. I am not on board with this bullshit. But because you followed her so intently throughout this movie, I think you do sort of swallow your incredibility and just go, oh, fine, it's okay.
Yeah, they earned it. They earned it. They absolutely earned it by that point. Yes, The Invisible Man, superb. Wonderful movie.
Yeah. So what's your number 4 then?
My number 4 is Sputnik.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Sputnik.
That was another one that nearly made my list.
Nearly made your list, yeah. So Sputnik, obviously 2020, Russian science fiction horror movie by Igor Abramenko. Gonna try and pronounce that name as best I can because I'm terrible. I've realised I think I'm getting worse. The older I get, the worse I'm getting at pronouncing names on this show. Like I think I used to be alright at it back when we did the movie show, but now I just can't. I'm losing that ability. But in any case, I absolutely loved Sputnik this year. The trailer I think grabbed both of us, didn't it? We were both like, "Oh, this really looks really good." Again, watched it at home, and absolutely loved this movie. I think it's really well,
and it's another one of those like Underwater. The trailer sort of invokes Alien, and you get all that, and then but this movie,
but it's a different movie.
It has that. It completely tells an entirely different story. It does. Yes, it has those sort of influences. You can see those influences, but this is an entirely different beast. This is a great movie.
It's a superb movie. It's again, in a lot of ways, I'm glad they did it with Underwater because it kind of was a nice surprise when I saw it. This film, I kind of feel like the trailer almost did it a disservice. To be honest, it's a good trailer and it grabbed me, but when you watch the movie, you realize it's not really what the movie's about, and they've tried to cash in on the alien thing, but it's really not. So basically, this movie is set in 1983. It's kind of the last end of the real sort of bad period of the Cold War, and basically follows two Russian cosmonauts who are orbiting the Earth on a research mission. They're returning to Earth, and they see something moving outside the ship, and then they come back to Earth, and I will always remember this scene, the scene with the farmer who just it's just like, whatever, he just doesn't care, he's just a farmer. He's like seen it all before, like people from space, whatever. But anyway, one of them is
it's a crashed rocket. Oh well.
They're one of them is horrendously mutilated upon being found. The other is unconscious but seems to be alive and is taken to an isolated military facility where he's under the guise of being looked after and brought brought back, and brought back to health.
The propaganda sort of wing has said that they've come back and they're having like tests at a facility, and they're just sort of recovering from their flight.
Yeah. And then we've got this wonderful wonderful back and forth between the colonel of the secret facility, who very much knows what's going on and wants this alien creature, and you've got the doctor who basically is a psychologist, isn't she, at first?
She's basically called in because she's when she's introduced quite well as this sort of a
rebel,
somebody who was she was doing this case with this kid, and she basically came up to bat for the kid, and she saw things that nobody else saw, and she's getting punished for it. She didn't toe the company line, so she's getting punished for it. And the colonel turns up and he says, I can make all this go away if you just come with me and talk to this astronaut.
Yeah.
So she doesn't know what's going on at first, and she's just taken to the facility to talk to him.
And
that's when you get these great
there.
scenes with him, just interviewing him, and then you get that amazing thing where they all come in and they put this barrier up behind his sleeping, sort of in front of his sleeping room, and you get that the thing comes out, and it's like, wow, that is a weird looking thing.
What a great design for that creature as well. It evokes several things, but it's very cool and unique in its own look. In some shots it looks kind of cute, and in other shots it's absolutely horrifying.
It does.
It's very weird depending on the angle.
They actually did. Yeah, they did quite a good job of sort of like, you think of sort of like it comes out and it's sort of like, it's looking at you and you're like, oh, that's quite hideous, but sort of cute, and then it opens its mouth,
and then you're like, oh,
and you're like, oh no, I don't think so.
No, it's terrifying. Not much more to say other than it's a wonderful film. It's great, tense movie, really good build up, really nice payoff at the end. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oksana Akinshina, who plays the psychiatrist, she is amazing. She's
wonderful,
really, really good. And you've got this other sort of like story going along as well, which I quite liked, which was sort of, it was sort of weird, and it did feel out of place at times when you've got this sort of this bit with the kid and stuff, and you have a little bit of misdirection with who the kid is.
It does make sense though.
But I think the thing is that most people don't focus on that, and I think that
elevates the movie.
Exactly.
Massively.
It explains her motivations and explains why she's reacting the way she's reacting.
Yes.
It
added,
I think people
for me,
overlook that part of the movie.
Yes. Whereas for me, and obviously for you as well, that added the extra element that really elevated this movie.
Yeah, completely.
Seeing her motivations and the reason for what she's doing was key to this movie for me. Otherwise, it would have just been another, monstery movie. Wonderful film, Sputnik. So, what is your number 3 now? Are we on number 3?
We are indeed on number 3. My number 3 is 1917.
Excellent. Well, that is my number 2. And Invisible Man was my number 3. So let's talk about 1917. Sam Mendes directing. This movie is everything I wanted Dunkirk to be. Really?
Yes.
It's a wonderfully directed World War I movie. Which I don't think there are enough of. There are more now. There was a period about a decade ago when there were none.
We've both discussed World War One. I think, as I've said before, the problem with World War One is it's quite a static war.
It is, which is where I think movies like this and War Horse do a tremendous job where you take in Warhorse, you're following the horse, and you follow the horse, and it goes across enemy territory. It gets captured by the Germans, is used by the Germans. It meets villagers in France, and look, it's with them while they're attacked by the Germans. The horse traveling across different areas manages to tell that story really well. And here with 1917, again, two people traveling across a great distance. They have to get to this location, to stop people running into a massive ambush. Basically, they're gonna all die if they don't get there. And obviously, with this movie, we're told that it's your brother. So if you don't go, your brother's going to be among the people.
Yeah, exactly. The motivation is your brother and a lot of other men will die if you don't get there. They have no communication with this thing. The attack is going to go ahead, and the area you're going to be passing through was previously occupied by the Germans, but they've moved on, and there's a long way to go. But if you go now, sort of thing, you can get there.
Yeah, and I was sorry. Go on.
Well, it's two great characters as well. You've got the young sort of wants to do his bit for his country kid, and you've got the slightly older, been here for a long time, seen everything. And it does an amazing switcheroo. Quite early in the movie.
I was gonna say that because it did not go the way I was expecting. At all.
No, not at all.
At that point. And that really sold me on this movie. At that point, I was like, oh, now I'm really invested in this movie and I really want to see where this goes. I agree.
And one of the great things about this movie is, even though it's not actually a one-shot movie, it's done as a series of one-shot movies. It basically, you can't see where the cuts are.
If you know what you're looking for, you can tell where the cuts are. But it's done seamlessly.
There were very long scenes which are literally just them following these two characters.
And that's the thing. When this movie came out, I remember people being really excited and like, "Oh my god, it's all like one shot." And then people almost immediately really belittled the movie by saying, "Oh, it's not one shot. It's not one shot."
But it's not one shot. Yeah, it's like,
and it's not. It's not. But you cannot take away how difficult some of these shots individually would have been, because like you said, there were some really long shots, really long takes where there aren't cuts. You can usually tell where there's a cut if you know what you're looking for, and there are really long scenes with lots of moving parts and lots of people that are acted and pulled off flawlessly. How many times each scene was filmed, I don't know. I've no idea.
But I imagine, just a simple, with the amount of people involved in certain scenes, anything could have gone wrong, and it would have meant they would have had to have gone back a full, like in some cases, I reckon, maybe 20 minutes to the beginning of a scene.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic.
And again, what the great believable leads, and George Mackay or Mackay is who I've seen. He's been in a number of great movies that I really, really like. He was in Captain Fantastic and things like that. He's great. I really like him. And like I said, we will spoil it. He's not the character that you think we're going to be following.
No, not at all.
You think it's the young kid. It's going to, and then
because it's his brother.
Thing happens. It's like, my
God,
it's
his brother.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah.
So everything is set up for it to be this guy going to rescue his brother. Everything leads you to believe that's going to be the case. And it's a wonderful switch when that does happen. You're like, oh, because I kind of preferred the guy that died as well. So now I'm like,
I think you're supposed to, because
he's
the
absolutely.
young kid.
It's very intentional.
And the other one's the sort of, the others. He's the sort of, he's been, like I said, he's been there, he's done that. He's a jaded character, and what a bloody
supporting cast.
Yeah, you've got
I was just going to say
Daniel Mays, Colin Firth. You've got
Benedict Cumberbatch.
and Andrew Scott, Benedict Cumberbatch. Yeah,
it's tremendous.
It's amazing. Mark Strong. It's just an amazing list of characters who only have very small parts, but each one like brings the exact thing you need to those minor roles. And even when they get there, and he's trying to persuade these like blinkered sort of generals, this is all going to go fucking wrong if you don't listen to me.
Yeah.
It's every little scene is so amazingly put together, and I mean, it's Sam Mendes. It's not a joke to be saying Sam Mendes knows how to put a movie together.
It really is.
I think this is probably one of the best things he's even. Mendes has done.
I would say it's probably my favorite Mendes movie at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was tremendous.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And I mean, when I was watching it in the cinema, I actually exclaimed in at one point. I like made a noise. I was thinking, thank God there was nobody else there was only one other person in the cinema at the time, which was good. I went to see a very early showing, and it was like, oh, thank for that. But it was an amazing, a real sort of visceral, brilliant movie.
Yeah. So, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is The Lighthouse.
Oh, shit. I forgot
that
I saw The Lighthouse this year. That probably would have made my top 5, but never mind. I don't know why. I pulled a complete blank on the bloody Lighthouse. So, Lighthouse would have been in my top 5. Let's talk about The Lighthouse, because that's a wonderful film. Amazing.
It's another movie that it's listed as last year, but it didn't. It actually came out again. It was another one that I saw just before lockdown.
Oh, I can't believe. I was making this list and I was thinking like I've forgotten something, and then I was looking through I went on IMDb and I was like, right, 2020 movies. And there's like 9,500 of them. Even this year, there's so many that came out this year, and I was like, oh no, I'm just never going to find it. Yes, Lighthouse, wonderful. Take it away.
So, directed by Robert Eggers, who obviously, again, previously
director.
Was made The Witch, which was like
number one. That was the number one of the top 5.
That year.
Yeah.
Starring Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe, and it's I think early sort of 1900s, and it's about two guys who don't know each other. They're just these two guys that have turned up to this lighthouse to work their sort of few months, as it were, and that's literally it. They just turn up to work on this lighthouse, and over a period of who knows how long, they slowly lose the plot, and weirdness ensues. This movie is
beautiful,
absolutely stunning. I mean, it unsettled. One, it's done in a weird ratio, so it's done in a small ratio, which I don't know how that's going to play on TV, because I saw it in the cinema.
I saw it on TV and thought it was wonderful.
Okay, that's okay then.
I think visually it just grabs you regardless, and it probably noticed it for like the first 5 minutes, and then after that it's gone.
The opening scene of them coming to the island, and then there's that. I mentioned it in my review.
Scene.
There's just them staring out at you for an uncomfortably long.
Yeah, and they really do stare at the camera at times. It's like right in the camera.
Literally, it looks like they're literally sort of like
staring into your soul.
Say something at them. Yeah.
This is another movie, though. You're going to say the same thing I am. Go on.
It's another one of those movies that's on my list, and like my number 1 will be as well, which I'll get to, which is again about identity and who you think you are and stuff like that. It's there is stuff in this movie that makes you think, well, is this all going on in their heads
or not?
Are they all or is it really happening? Are they actually in the real world? Is it all a dream or something else? And there is just so much going on in this sort of very small movie that you would be sort of forgiven for thinking that, you know, it's kind of a mess, because things change so quickly that you think, well, was that meant to happen? But it's all put together, I think, so brilliantly.
There's nothing accidental in this movie. Everything is very intentional.
Not. And it's a complete amazing two-hander by Patterson and Dafoe.
That's what I thought you were going to say just now. I was about to say, this is another movie in this top 5 that, without the two leads, this film would fall apart if it wasn't for the acting chops of these two leads, because they're amazing. I mean, Dafoe is always amazing anyway. But why have I forgotten his name?
Patterson.
Thank you, Robert Pattinson. Amazing in this film as well, and we've said numerous times that Robert Pattinson is an amazing actor, and people just remember him for Twilight. Unfortunately, he's tremendous when he's given the right role. Tremendous here, and Dafoe is probably the performance of his lifetime.
I genuinely think this is probably Dafoe's best performance, and that's saying a lot for Dafoe.
Yeah, Dafoe has done some amazing work.
There's the scene near the end where Patterson is oh, do I spoil it? Oh fuck it, I'm going to spoil it.
I think we're doing our roundup. We're going to spoil these movies.
Yeah,
you know,
the scene where Patterson is burying him.
Yeah,
where he's burying him, and he's while he's getting dirt thrown in his face, he's reciting this sort of monologue.
It's amazing.
It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah,
it's just completely batshit crazy and amazing.
And the cinematography with the mermaid as well, all of that stuff.
The mermaid scenes are so amazing.
Incredible movie.
And again, it's so brilliantly done, where you're sort of like, is this all in his head, or is this really happening? Or,
yeah, I mean, they're effectively
going on?
Drinking poison towards the end of the movie. So you're like, legitimately, this could all be in their head. They've basically poisoned themselves, and they're just seeing things and going mad. Yeah, you really don't know, and that is half of this movie, you know. Wonderful film. I wish I'd remembered it, because it would have been in my top 5.
You know, you could read it as a purgatory, and that they're already dead, and they're just
it's well open to interpretation. This movie, for sure.
Yeah.
It really is, and you take away from it whatever you want. I know a lot of people didn't like this movie. I can understand why a lot of people didn't like this movie. But this is right up my street and your street. This movie, for us, amazing.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And again, quite sort of gruey in some places. It's sort of like genuine. Like, what happens to Patterson at the end is like, oh, okay, that's not nice.
No.
And it's, you know, brilliantly done. Amazing film.
Absolutely. Lighthouse, highly recommended. That was your number 2, right?
That is indeed my number 2.
Well, number 1. And sticking with the same theme, Color Out of Space is my number 1 film.
Again, that's another one that nearly made my top 5.
Your list. I was thinking it was going to be your number 1, because this year, to be honest, if I'd remembered Lighthouse, all 5 movies would have been Cthulhu-y movies, basically. If I'd remembered Lighthouse. You know, Underwater, Sputnik, Color Out of Space. Just all Lovecraftian movies. This movie is stunning. It's gorgeous, and as someone who loves Lovecraft and who wants more Lovecraftian films, to see someone take a Lovecraft story and adapt it so successfully, so wonderfully, it's just a sight to behold. It's an absolutely fantastic movie. Richard Stanley
for Richard Stanley, yeah,
it's been a long time,
brilliant
right?
Return for Richard
wasn't
Stanley,
like Island of Dr. Moreau, the last movie he made. Or didn't.
Well,
make.
he did
finish.
How
Yeah.
much did he make? Yeah.
but wonderful. I'm really pleased to hear that he's planning this to be the start of a trilogy. I think he's trying to do the Dunwich Horror next, which I think he'd do wonderfully with. Yeah, I'm really excited for the future because this movie is fantastic, and Nicolas Cage, for the second year in a row, at my number one spot. How about that? A couple of years ago, I never would have thought that would happen. So,
no, God no. I mean, especially because he does still keep turning out dross.
Oh, he does. I saw that trailer for visit Ninjutsu the other day.
Oh, Jiu-Jitsu, I think it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Sorry. Which I think he's only in for like 5 minutes, but like, oh my god.
It looks absolutely appalling, and I totally want to watch it.
Yeah. I want to watch it, but I need to wait until the pandemic's over because I need to watch it with friends and beer. I don't think I can watch it on my own. It will be lost on my own, so I need to watch it with people. Color Out of Space is a wonderful movie. Basically, a family living on a remote farm.
A llama ranch.
Sorry, yes, a llama ranch. Yes. Basically, Nathan, played by Nicolas Cage, has moved to this remote farm following his wife's mastectomy. While on this farm, there's two storylines going on, and again, this like Lighthouse, you don't know how much of this is in their head, how much of this is really happening, how much is not happening. Yep. Basically, they've moved to this remote farm. They see something falls, a meteor comes down with some lightning, basically, as far as they're concerned. The following day, it's gone. There's nothing there. They don't know, but they saw some colors, some weird things coming from this meteorite that they can no longer find. It's gone. Alongside that, we have a character who is testing the water for chemicals because there's some kind of chemical spill nearby, from what I remember.
And there's the mayor wants to redevelop the whole area.
Yeah, so he's testing.
They actually want to get Cage out of his farm. They want his land, basically.
They want his land. He's refused, and basically they're that's right. Sorry, it's not a chemical spill. They are surveying the area to develop it, and the hydrologist Ward finds this something in the water, basically, that he thinks as a side effect could cause hallucinations, could cause unknown issues. And basically it is a lot like Lighthouse. Are they just going crazy from the water they're drinking? Or is this really happening? Did something really come from space? Is there something really going on? And what surprised me with this movie is it surprised me how far they went, basically. There was a point in the movie where I thought, this is probably as far as we're going to get, you know? But then it goes all out. It really does.
Absolutely full on.
It reminds me in some ways of In the Mouth of Madness, another Cthulhu-y Lovecraftian movie, which again goes further than you think it will. It kind of goes there in a few scenes. But this one goes further, obviously. Some really gross, awesome scenes ensue. A lot of it looks practical. I don't know how much of it is, but a lot of it does look practical.
I'm guessing most of it's practical, because that seems to be
his
I would
style.
say Stanley's thing, isn't it? So I would have thought it was probably mostly practical. And I think one of the great things about this movie is it's Nicolas Cage turned up to 11, but holding back. He's doing quite a good job of doing his usual unhinged, but just subtly enough that it's not, full on. And
I think he's just getting cast in the really perfect role for him to do that. The same with Mandy last year, it's the perfect role for him. And you're right, he isn't full on. He dials it right up there, but just shy of being too much. Yeah.
And Jolie Richardson.
Angelina Jolie was in this?
Jolie Richardson, again, who's fantastic. She is so good as this sort of like ill mother who
Tremendous.
is losing patience with her family, and she's, and when this thing happens with her son, it was like, oh my god, that is another one of those times where you go, oh, they're actually doing it.
Again, and I didn't have that Invisible Man reaction because it wasn't such a sudden thing like the Invisible Man was. But I was sat on my bed thinking like, oh my god, they're really going there. They're really doing this. This is,
It's one of those moments with a kid, which is rare. I think that's what blows you with that. Blows your mind with that scene is that it's not often that a movie will do anything to children, and this sort of
this did
does it, and it's like, oh god, and it's so grotesque. It
really is.
Utterly grim,
but brilliant. In the nicest way possible. That was exactly what I wanted from this movie, and it gave me that.
Yeah, of course. You needed enough weirdness in a Cthulhu movie for
But that's the thing, and it's right. That happens right around the point where I started wondering whether it was going to play it safe and not really go there.
Yeah,
and then it did, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is perfect." It's
because I think it up until that point, even though you've seen sort of things moving around and you've seen sort of eye stuff, visions,
you've seen
visiony
stuff.
Sort of things.
Yeah.
You still think, well, maybe it could still be just them
going,
huffing the water, as it were. It could still just. Yeah, just be them. But that moment is like, no, full on. This is really happening.
This is happening.
It was a great movie.
Yeah,
and it nearly made my top 5. It was just on the edge.
So Color Out of Space, my number 1 movie of 2020. Matt, what was your number 1 movie?
My number 1 movie is I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Wonderful. A film I still haven't seen. I was planning on seeing it. It does look great. The trailer looked great, and your review was glowing. So tell us about it.
So this is a Netflix movie, and it's Charlie Kaufman, who, again, we've talked about before. We both love Eternal Sunshine.
I love that movie forever.
Yeah,
it's a great movie.
He's a great, but I think it's one of those. He's one of those writer directors that I think if someone says Charlie Kaufman, I think you pretty much know you're not going to get a standard movie. You know you're going to get a certain amount of mind bending or weirdness that you're not going to get a straight up film.
It's what he does, and he does it extremely well.
Yeah. So this is the story of Jake and. The credit says young woman, but I mean it could be Laura or it could be a number of other names that are given.
Sure.
And they're this couple who you're seeing it from her perspective, and she is played by Jessie Buckley amazingly, and Jesse Plemons is Jake, and she's waiting to be picked up by her boyfriend, and she says basically that they've been going out for a while, and although everything's nice and he's a great bloke, she's thinking that it's not going quite so well, and she's thinking of ending things, which in itself could mean more than one thing.
Of course.
So he's picking her up to take her to his parents to see her parents. So while she's thinking of ending it, she's also on her way to meet his parents.
Yeah.
And then what you get is a very long sort of scene of them in the car talking about things, and where they went to school and things, and what they're studying and what she is, and you sort of begin to notice inconsistencies in what they're saying, and it's quite odd. And then when you get to the parents' house, which is his parents played by Toni Collette and David Thewlis,
right?
There are whole scenes where things jump. You're like, what's? So they'll be talking, and they're a certain age, let's say, and then in the next scene they'll be maybe older, and the dad will have a plaster on his head in a different position. Or there will be something wrong with the mother, and then it'll change, and they'll maybe young again. There are lots of suggestions that what's going on is not quite right, and she sees that, like, a picture of Jake as a young boy, but she sees herself as a young girl in it,
right?
And it's all this sort of this.
I mean, it sounds exactly like a Kaufman movie. It's
yeah, exactly
what you expect. It sounds wonderful.
And again,
there's very intentional, seemingly continuity errors, but intentional.
Feel like they're mistakes, but they are.
Yes, yes,
most definitely not mistakes.
No, very considered and very
It's another movie, like I said, about which seems maybe it's just this year or something. I don't know, but it's another movie about identity and about self and how you see yourself and how others see you, and this one in particular is more to do with roads that you didn't choose, paths that you didn't take, and if you just had that slight motivation, or if your life had been just slightly different, you could have had this or you could have had that. And again, like with the other ones on this one, it completely holds up on the performances of Buckley and Plemons. They are absolutely amazing. You completely believe that this woman, even though she seems to have weird inconsistencies in her life, she's a character that you feel feel that this woman, even though things keep changing, and she might not quite be what she is. You're with her all the way. And again, Tony Collette and David Wallace, again, who are great actors. Their performances are so weird and over the top at times that it almost sort of like hinges on parody when. But if you go with what the story is, why they're like that. You see why there's a reason why they're like they are, because, well, kind of spoiling it, but because they're an interpretation of what they are. They're not. Yeah. It's kind of hard to sort of explain it without
going through the whole plot. Yeah, sure. but like imagine trying to explain, people that haven't seen this movie but have seen Eternal Sunshine. Imagine trying to explain Eternal Sunshine to someone without just telling them the whole story, because like you kind of have to, right?
And I know this movie is completely polarizing. It's people think it's massively self-indulgent, and it is. It's a Kaufman movie.
I was looking at reviews of my top 5 movies and like the percentages, and I was like, wow, I've got terrible taste in some films. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine this is not on many people's top.
It may not be
of the years. But for me, it really did speak to me. I think it's an amazingly done movie, and it's the great performances. And I like a good movie where I think it's well done and it makes you think, and it's surprising, and there's a weird song and dance number in it. It's it's got almost everything, but in the kitchen sink. It's really, really good. Do you know really weird.
I love those weird scenes, though. I think still my favourite scene from Eternal Sunshine is when he's a kid.
Yeah,
when he's the kid he's like hiding under the table and stuff. I love that scene. It's just those weird, bizarre situations that just wonderful. I really am looking forward to seeing this movie. It's high.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. It's I mean, I know you don't have Netflix right now, but
well, you say that I will have soon, because obviously I was gonna hold out for Godzilla at Singular Point, but Cobra Kai's back, so Cobra Kai's probably gonna win me back to Netflix. So
I have seen the whole. I finished it yesterday.
Is it good? Is it a good follow up?
It is brilliant.
Wonderful. So basically they are going to win me back in the next week or so. Probably this weekend I'll get to a breaking point and be like, I need to see Cobra Kai. So yeah, I will be back on Netflix soon.
Yeah, it's worth it, I think.
Yeah.
Cobra Kai is fantastic. It's so weird. It's like the best TV series on at the moment.
And it's wonderful.
It's a weird sort of it's a kids soap opera basically.
Yeah.
It's
But also,
but it's
imagine
so good.
imagine doing a new series, a continued series, a reboot series of something that's really beloved and actually paying tribute to it. Imagine doing that. And then introducing new characters, not at the expense of existing characters, but actually making likable characters that we actually want to follow and actually care about.
Who knew you could do that in 2020?
I didn't think it was possible.
No.
But here we are. Here we are with a wonderfully diverse cast of characters, new characters that I love all of them. I love them all. They're really, really good, and I'm glad that season 3 is good because I was really worried. I was like, no, because I loved where season 2 left it. I was just hoping that they paid it off.
The school brawl was fantastic.
Oh,
what a
so
way
good,
to
so good. And then of course finding out at the end that Kreese was a piece of shit the whole time, which we knew, but it's that wonderful thing where they drop the hint early on, and then it's like, oh, he went there. Okay.
Yeah, they go a lot more into Kreese's backstory in this season.
Cool. Do we get to see some Nam stuff, or
we do?
Wonderful. I was hoping we would, because that's a great scene as well in season 2, where he starts talking about his stuff in Nam and stuff, and you're like, oh my god, yeah, like, you actually feel for the guy, and you can see why Johnny takes him in and gives him that second chance. And there's that wonderful scene with LaRusso and Johnny where they're at the dining table together. They're at the restaurant together, and both series. I hope there's another dining series in this, because the scene in this, because that's been the best scenes of both season 1 and 2 for me were the dining scenes. And in season 2, you got the restaurant scene where Johnny's like, "Why the fuck did you bring Kreese back? Like, what the fuck?" And Johnny looks at him. He's like, "Because I believe people can change." And you can see like Daniel's like, "Oh shit, that should be me. Like, that's my line. Like, forgiveness and that should be me." And like, Johnny is the better person than me in this situation. Wonderful. I'm so glad season 3 is good. We will have a big old chat about that soon, because I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it all, and we'll have a good talk. That's the good thing, because we're going to be doing spoilers, Strange Days, for our next movie.
Yes.
So it gives us a little while, and then we'll come back and we can talk about Cobra Kai season 3.
Absolutely.
Tremendous. Well, we went off on a tangent right at the end as opposed to right at the beginning like we normally do, so that's nice. But yes, our top 5 movies of 2020, despite the pandemic and despite most of the films that I was expecting to be in my top 5 not being released this year. I was fully expecting Dune to be my number 1 movie of this year, and obviously now it's like, okay, I guess it'll be 2021 then.
I was expecting Godzilla to be in there.
Godzilla would have been in there for me. I think I'd be very surprised if it wasn't.
I'm sure it would have.
Yeah.
But
if the last one was anything to go by. So yeah, but despite all of that, some wonderful movies this year. And the lesson in terms of film that I'm going to take away from this year is that I did end up watching a lot of movies that I normally wouldn't have given the time to, and they turned out to be great. So films like Sea Fever, those smaller budget movies I probably wouldn't have had time for, probably wouldn't have seen, but wonderful movies. Even like #Alive, probably wouldn't have seen that. I really enjoyed it.
I think we probably definitely would have missed that, because it's when you at its core it's just another zombie movie. And you think, well, exactly. I've seen enough of those, but I think it's weirdly through necessity we've seen some actual gems.
Yeah, but I'm definitely going to try and take that forward into future years, where I will try and give more time to these other kind of movies and the lower budget movies and stuff. I saw some real shit this year, but I.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, completely.
Verotica.
Wonder Woman 84.
I love. This might be the only podcast in the world that lumped in Verotica and Wonder Woman 1984 in the same sentence. But there we go. It's been
Yeah.
ups and downs. I mean, to be fair, I would imagine 1984 was worse because I was expecting Verotica to be shit, to be honest. Wasn't expecting a lot. I'd seen the trailer, so you know.
Yeah.
But in any
You knew
case,
what you were getting.
I knew exactly what I
that.
was getting at it. To be honest, it really was entertaining, as bad as it was. I did have a lot of fun with that. I needed a few beers though, but I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. I wish I would have watched 84 with a few beers. It might have livened it up.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know when I'm going to watch that now, or if I'm even going to bother, to be honest. But
I would say don't, but I think you kind of need to.
I feel like I need to. It's kind of like
Yeah.
It's got that that Rise of
You wanna see
Skywalker
the
feel
car-
to me, where it's
you-
like, oh,
you
I
wanna
don't
see
want
the
to,
car
but I have to.
crash.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Yeah.
I kind of have to.
Want to see the wreckage.
Yeah. But yeah.
The thing that annoyed me, yesterday is Total Film gave it 4 stars, 4 out of 5 stars,
What, Wonder Woman?
and I just thought, yep.
I've
and I
not
just
heard.
thought,
I've
did
not
you
heard
see
a
this-
positive review. I've not seen a positive
Did you
review.
see the same fucking movie I watched? Because it did not warrant 4 stars. I can assure you.
Maybe it just ticked enough boxes for them. Just ticked the boxes
well,
that they want ticked right now. And then we'll
I
leave it at
guess
that.
so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it tells you something when the director uses the buzzword at the moment that infuriates me the most, and that is, we wanted to subvert expectations.
well, you did. You
Yeah, well done,
subverted
you.
my expectations because I was expecting a good sequel. So,
How well did that go for the last Jedi? Did that go really well for that one?
and most movies that have tried doing it lately, you can subvert.
Yeah. Anybody
You can subvert
who
expectations
says that word.
to a point. It's fine.
Yeah.
You can subvert.
you're trying to
Take
make a
any
point with it.
aspect of The Last Jedi. You take any one of those things on their own, and you do that, and that's your subversion. Is that one thing? Movie probably still would have been fine. Probably good for the surprise. But when you make your whole movie a bloody subversion, that does not work, because then it's just awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I don't know when I'll be seeing that. But in any case, this was a positive one, and we should end on a positive. 5
That's
movies
very
from both of us. I mean, there were some shared ones in there. But yeah, go see those movies. That's just some great movies from 2020. And we'll be back next time talking about Strange Days, a wonderful movie. Looking forward to that one. And until then, stay safe. We're all back in lockdown here in the UK, so full lockdown mode. But it's all good. We've still got movies going on, so you know, we've got some entertainment. In any case, stay safe, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.